up! Watch your mouth! 15 seconds!
I took them to Frank Kimball.
You stupid little...
Welcome back, folks. It's time for another trip down 70s memory lane with the Met's finest. For this video we're going right back to the beginning and taking in some locations that were used in the Armchair Cinema pilot Regan, as well as some from Series 1. All the action this time takes place south of the river. Let's go. We begin down in Crystal Palace with a short scene from the Series 1 episode Golden Boy. Gold bullion robber Max Della, Dudley Sutton, recognised by many for his later Tinker Dill role on Lovejoy, is on his way to lean on a former cellmate who has now gone respectable and runs a sporting equipment enterprise. Della wants to get the stolen gold out of the country disguised as weightlifting weights. We are of course at the National Sports Centre here. Della approaches down this access road in his Shelby GT350, 70s villains did love a Shelby, and stops next to the ramp that you can see just behind these locked gates. Hold up, you'll get a better view if I poke the camera through, eh? There we go. The Sports Centre, opened in 1964, is on the site of the original FA Cup final venue and close to the site of the old exhibition building which burned down in 1936. It's seen better days now, but is the subject of a proposed multi-million-pound renovation. A short train ride away, we'll take in our first location from the Armchair Cinema pilot. George drives the governor to the flats located at Dawson's Heights, where Jack is meeting with soon-to-be ex-love interest Annie. It's an early insight we're given into the way Regan's relationships will tend to go throughout the series. Failed marriage, bits on the side here and there, but ultimately wed to the job. They meet on Dawson's Hill below the Ladlands block, one of two at the Heights. Trying to get the same single shot of the car sweeping in today is very difficult, as behind me now are hedges, fences and other properties close by, so I've split it into two. Firstly, we pan in from Underhill Road to the flats. Then, shifting further in, we look back to where the car approached from and pan round to see behind the block where it stopped. Putting them together with the pilot footage, you can see many of the same houses on Underhill Road, and the block itself obviously is unchanged, barring a few cosmetics. The view behind the block, or rather lack of one nowadays, is very different however. Standing where Jack and Annie talked, back then you can see straight through to the Ladlands building.
Eddie's back.
You already? He's not due back for months yet.
Tanker caught fire. Lengthy repairs.
When did he get back?
Last night. It looks like permanent. They've flown him back to a new job.
Today this puts you right in the middle of Dawson's Hill Nature Reserve, and all you can really see are bushes and trees. This view back up a path is about as close as I could get to looking back up at the flats. Looking down Dawson's Hill as they walked up is a similar story. Here we can see clearly down to the houses on Dunstan's Road below.
Considering you left a jacket and 2 pair of wide fronts in his wardrobe.
What did he say to that?
Not a lot. He's got a forgiving nature.
And you reckon he's back for good?
Yeah.
Today, again, we can see nothing much beyond the bushes and trees. I can't deny this makes for a pleasant green space for the families that live nearby and promotes wildlife habitat, which is all to be commended, but it does rather stymie those of us trying to line up camera shots. Looking back up the hill gives you a sense of just how much vegetation has now grown up. Governor would never find Annie and all that lot nowadays. The Dawson's Heights development, incidentally, sits on top of a spoil heap created by the digging of a nearby railway line. Designed by Kate McIntosh, it was built between about 1964 and 1972, so it was pretty new when the pilot filmed. We stick with the pilot and head down to Underhill Road now as the squad is racing to the address of a villain, identified only as Jono, to arrest him. Here the cars turn out of Ryedale onto Underhill Road and park up outside Honor Oak Mansions, where Jono is currently asleep and blissfully unaware of their arrival. We're on the corner of Ryedale here and looking at a much brighter and leafier view up Underhill Road, and it was obviously wheelie bin day when I filmed, but the buildings themselves remain much the same in structure. The squad piling over the fences and through the gates, with several members running along this path that goes underneath the elevated main entranceways, covering all exits, eh? This view is from a side gate on Ryedale I came in by, where you can see the sunken path and the entrance bridges still in existence today. As is usually the way with private residences, I didn't want to be too intrusive with my cameras here. This sequence is of course where we first meet the governor and hear him utter the now immortal words,
Get your trousers on. You're nicked.
Our next stop is at the home of Dulwich Hamlet FC, where in Ringer, Regan and Carter go to meet Snout Bernie Driscoll, who's running his dog on the pitch, for some information about Frank Kemble. As you can see, back then it was a proper old school ground. Pylon floodlights, sleepers banged into the mud bank. Stood on a few of those in my time.
You met my governor, Inspector Regan. Now, we hear you've been seeing a bit of Frank Kemble.
I owed him some money. I went round to see him.
The old Champion Hill Stadium was demolished in 1991, being too old and run down to bring up to modern
You're
standards.
lying, Bernie.
On my life, Mr. Carter.
Now, I have to fess up, I didn't actually go to the ground on this trip. There seemed little point since it would be closed up and all I'd have filmed for you is a wall and a Sainsbury's car park. However, back in my early blogging days, I did actually visit on a match day to photograph. These shots were taken in 2019 when the Hamlets played out a thrilling 1-1 draw against Chelmsford. Both goals of which I missed due to the unbelievably slow progress at the turnstiles. The things I do. My next actual stop stays with Ringer and takes us to Peckham Rye, where Jack and George are after the tearaways who stole the Gov's Bird's Mini. After a confrontation in the lockup, a chase round the station and the railway arches ensues. The Gov follows Billy Martin up onto the railway above, while George goes through the arches to try and head him off from another direction. This view is not the exact arch George went through as far as I can tell. That would be slightly to our left, but now closed in by a private business. It does, however, give you a view through the same section of railway to the yard between the sets of tracks. Heading into that yard, we can look down to see where George ran up between the parked lorries, with rail tracks on either side of us. Peckham Rye Station, platforms 1 and 2 are up to our left here. It's along platform 1 that Billy scarpers with the Gov in pursuit. That longer shot would have been from down here on Blenheim Grove, where I'm standing now with the Archie's businesses in front of me. Palm trees in Peckham, who'd have thought it? Go on, Gov, get after him. Up on platform 2, Billy tries to make it for a departing train, but is a tad too late and is forced to brake for the stairs. Meanwhile, we see George down to our right heading to the end of the yard. Believe it or not, as we look at the same view from platform 2 today, I had the pleasure of bumping into the architect responsible for Peckham Rye Station's restoration, who told me that the Sweeney has been an important reference source for them in their work. Incredible. And what are the odds of us meeting right as I filmed?
I'm the architect that's been restoring the station here. You can see
wow.
the roof's been beautifully restored.
That is fantastic, yeah.
And so that episode is important for us because we can understand what historic features were still present.
Much as I hated to cut off a truly fascinating chat, we've still got the small matter of Billy Martin to attend to. These are the steps down from the platform. The lovely old tiling's gone, and we've got some health and safety yellow of course, but otherwise we're looking at much the same view 50 plus years on.
You measuring passenger flows?
Out front of the station, Billy scarpers towards Ollie Grove. However, George's route out through the yard tunnel brings him bang into Billy's path. The Gov and George, who as we well know,
Haven't had any dinner.
are in no mood to go easy on Billy.
Right, you've got 30 seconds. Or on top of motor theft, it's resisting arrest and assault with a deadly weapon. And forgery. There won't be any cars for you to nick by the time they let you out, son.
The station front today sports cleaned up brickwork and the notable absence of the old external metal staircase, which, thanks to my fascinating chat with the architect, I now know used to go up to a billiard hall. I always wondered what that was for. Filming these videos really has taught me more than I could have imagined. The spot where they intercept Billy is here behind this archway. It still leads through to the yards, but the fences and graffiti are all of a more modern stamp, of course. To our left, we'll look back to where the Gov chased Billy out of the station. There was a lot of work going on, and the view as I filmed was a bit restricted by hoardings and equipment, but this photograph from back on my 2019 trip shows that the basic view back towards the station is still very recognisable from the one filmed in the episode. Staying with Ringer, we hopped to Bushy Road, where we first encounter Billy and his mate,
Stupid.
as they prowl down Lyndhurst Grove looking for a motor to steal. Turning into Bushy Hill Road, they spy Jenny's Mini that the Gov has parked up, unlocked, whilst he uses the phone. This was one of the earliest locations I found and photographed, and here I am finally back with my camera to film for the channel. Again we see gentrification in evidence, but also the buildings and walls themselves having stood more or less unchanged in half a century. Here's our favourite phone box on the southeast corner of the road as Stupid does the business on the Mini. This is the view today from where the Mini was parked up. Regan is finally alerted to the pair's antics and takes off over the road to try and stop them, but it's just too late to prevent them getting away. They leave him on the tarmac as they tear off towards the A202 Peckham Rye. The red pillar box in this episode is still standing. Its design and VR cipher tag it as a Type B installed during Queen Victoria's reign, so it may well be listed. Panning down the road, we can see the houses are much as they were. No speed bump to slow Billy down back then though. By this point I'd been going for a good while and was definitely peckish in Peckham, so...
I'll tell you what I'll do. Me and George will go and have a pie, and we'll be back in an hour.
OK, so admit this one is not a Sweeney location, but I make no apologies for including it. Manzy's Pie and Mash shop is a must visit when I'm in the area, and I couldn't resist stopping in for lunch. This particular branch has held out against the ever-changing whims of fashion and will be celebrating its 100-year anniversary next year, having opened in 1927. Right, in we go.
Hello. 2 and 2, please. Sorry, 2 and 2, please. Yes, please.
Have a liquor, darling.
Oh yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, pour the liquor on, mate. No problem.
A cup of tea as well, please.
Yeah, sugar. Milk and sugar.
Just milk, please.
Yeah, okay.
Ah, look at that. That's the money shot right there.
Is that card or cash, darling?
Lovely, that's card, please. Thank you.
With its green and white tiled interiors and rows of benches, serving up honest grub to hungry folk, Manzy's and other pie shops are of course another reminder of a London of days gone by. Like many of the Sweeney locations I've filmed, they're getting harder to find as the years pass, but are well worth seeking out, perhaps more so now than ever. You do wonder how long pie and mash shops will be able to hold out now, as there doesn't seem to be a new generation of patrons coming through the doors, but they're one more little piece of London's working class heritage that it would be sad to see disappear. Once things like this are gone, you won't ever see them back again, so it's important to support them while we can. Not to mention it was proper tasty, of course. Now, I love all sorts of food from all around the world, but a plate of pie and mash will never go out of style for me. Right, suitably fueled, let's head northeast a touch to Peckham Road and some more action from Ringer, where Frank Kemble's firm are setting up an ambush on a police van. Here, Dave Brooker directs a lorry out onto Furley Road. We're looking here as the lorry did, across into Peckham Road, though you'll see we're a bit closer to the junction on the modern day shot. The reason for that becomes apparent when we spin round and have a look behind us. There's now walls, flats and houses where the corrugated iron and empty lots stood in the episode. This is another of those locations that took the side-by-side maps to untangle. Peckham Road is marked here in yellow, and as you can see it used to extend much further to the west, whereas now it stops in a T-junction with Furley Road. The lorry was parked down the now removed section, facing to the east. A short while later, Brooker goes to speak with Kemble in his motor. Kemble was parked just off to the left on Furley Road, or to the north if you prefer. This shot is looking north up Furley Road today, which, although looking predictably better heeled and less grimy, still offers a tantalisingly similar view to the episode. We'll move now to Meeting House Lane as the ambush develops, where the police van is escorted by 2 motorcycles, with notable landmarks of the pub to the right and the tower block in the background. The Boozer was the Beehive, a former Watney's pub which dated back to at least the 1860s, but which, like so many, is now a residential property. Here we look back up Meeting House Lane to where the van and motorcycles pulled out from Goldsmith Road, with the pub on our right and the tower block still standing in the distance. Like much of this area, there's been a lot of change, but the core of the old housing terraces are still very much in evidence and recognisable between the episode and now. Not far away on Penthorne Road we have another short shot of the police van being escorted by the motorcycles as a gang lookout watches on from a taxi. This road today looks more or less the same in itself, with the terraces spruced up a little, but the view at the south end of the street is quite different. This is another place where the old versus new maps were necessary to pinpoint the location, as I was struggling to find this view. Looking at the south end of the road, you can see there's a small green space where some old terraces used to stand. The roofs angled across the back of the episode shot can be seen in the old map on the left. Our final location from Ringer for this video is up on Commercial Road as the police van heads towards its date with Kemble's mob. This is that same view today, and taking the 70s colour palette aside, it hasn't actually changed all that much. The tower in the background looks new, but the flats and terraces in the foreground are all much as they were. And for now, that's where we'll leave it. Next time we'll have more from Peckham before we move on up to Rotherhithe and Bermondsey. Till then, I hope you enjoyed this one and I'll see you all soon. Ta-da!